Hey guys, it's Bear. It's Thursday, July 16th, and today I want to talk to you about something that's really gotten under my skin today. So this video is going to be one of those ones where I'm a little bit more emotional, especially since this just kind of hit me all today. And usually I let things kind of rest before I address them on video. Today I didn't want to do that because I'm just feeling really raw, and I thought that it was important to get some thoughts down before it settles. So, trigger warning, I'm going to discuss, some feelings and some experiences, and it might be upsetting to other people. It's certainly upsetting me. So what's caused this? What's brought this on? Right now, in my country, and probably a worldwide known thing is that, a celebrity, and someone who was an athlete, an Olympic athlete back in the 80s, Caitlyn Jenner, over the last couple of months has come out and transitioned really publicly. And there's been a lot of feedback and backlash on social media. A lot of jokes and, people reacting from a place where they don't understand, and that's actually understandable. I have seen some of the jokes and thought that they were really in bad taste and kind of stupid. I've seen some of them and actually thought they were kind of funny. I avoid sharing them because I'm friends with a lot of trans people who are, might get upset by it, and I'm definitely not going to insult somebody in my own community. But what's happening right now is that this person was nominated and won like a Courage Award, like an ESPN, athlete, sportsman's Courage Award. Now, I don't follow this person's story very closely. I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't know what the criteria is for winning this thing, and I don't know who else was nominated. This video is not sitting here trying to say, like, oh, Caitlyn Jenner deserved the Courage Award. No, I don't, whatever. What's happening, though, is that there's a lot of people out there that think that it was wrong, and poking a lot of fun at, what courage is. And the one that hits me the hardest, and there's many examples that I can give you, but the one that hits me the hardest is where there's a side-by-side picture of Caitlyn Jenner in her current presentation, side-by-side with, a soldier who's got one or more prosthetic limbs because they were injured, serving their country. And it'll say something like, this is real courage. Okay, first and foremost, if you know anything about me, you know that I'm incredibly patriotic, and, I support our service members like, I can't even come up with, like, a way to describe it. So I'm not trying to say that that's not real courage. It's incredible courage that I did not have when I was 18 years old. I went in and I, signed up, I did all the paperwork, and then I backed out. And it's incredibly embarrassing, and I regret that decision every day. So, I think that, somebody that's going to serve their country and put themselves, in harm's way, yeah, that's bravery. So I'm not saying it's not. What I'm trying to say is, why does it have to be a contest? Why can't we accept everybody's different courage, and not put them side by side and say, well, this is real courage and this isn't, And I think it's coming from a place of not understanding, people that aren't trans don't know what it's like to be trans and leave your house. I don't know what it's like to, do other things that take courage, So let me just explain some things about why it's scary to transition. I talked about this a little bit in my Life of T-Men video last week, actually, about, supporting a trans person because it's scary. What's scary about it? What takes courage? Okay, confronting the feelings. It took me until I was 34 years old to finally say the words, I am transgender, and I need to transition. I've probably known since I was about 4 years old and understood what gender was, that I wasn't right. I didn't know what the word transgender was until way later, but I knew for sure when I was a young child and all through my teenage years, first puberty, and my 20s and stuff, I knew that something was wrong with me, and I knew that it was something that I shouldn't talk about, because it wasn't accepted, especially back in the 80s and the 90s when there was the huge AIDS scare, and, it was considered the gay disease. I thought that's what I was. I thought I was gay. I didn't really understand, what the difference was and stuff as a child and as a teenager. I didn't know. So I thought, oh, I must be gay, and that's dirty, it's wrong, it's disgusting, and, it made me feel horrible inside, in this place where you lay awake at night and you think about, like, what a disgusting freak you are, and how bad it is, and how your parents are going to be embarrassed of you, and, you've been lectured by teachers, about how to act more like a lady, and don't be gay, and you just think, like, God, I can't make it go away. Something's wrong with me and I can't make it go away. And, just acknowledging those feelings. And then deciding to become vulnerable by telling other people, it adds a whole bunch of fear to your life, I never know when I'm going to work, am I going to deal with that person who's a bit of a bully about things? Am I going to deal with a customer who remembers me when I presented as female and is going to, call me like a slur, or get in my face about it, or, if I'm going to deal with the person who's insisting, that I'm a woman and I'll always be a woman, and, whatever, you don't know. Every time you get up and you decide to go out, it's a struggle. Just to get yourself out of the house. Hell, just to get your clothes on sometimes, when your body isn't the body that you're, meant to have, can be a huge problem. I've talked about it before. I've gone through days where I change my shirt over and over and over and over, just to get myself dressed and get out of the house can be an anxiety attack. So, I think that getting up anyway, getting your clothes on, getting yourself out of the house, that's courage, alright? Little things that people don't think about as you go through your day, going into a bathroom at a public place, dealing with somebody maybe noticing that, they don't think that you're, the gender that you express as, and somebody's going to follow you into the bathroom and do you harm in there, that happens. The statistics of violence against trans people are really high, and we're talking, assault, rape, and murder, alright? So, to go into a bathroom and wonder, is this going to be the day that somebody follows me in here and rapes and assaults and murders me, and you get up and you go anyway? That's courage. That's such a small thing. Most people don't think about that, going into the store and buying clothing, and as you're walking through the section, having somebody else there and wondering, is that person looking at me? Are they wondering what gender I am? Are they wondering what kind of pervert I am because I'm buying clothing for the opposite gender? Going over to the changing room and having the person unlock a door. They have men's and they have women's changing rooms, and you know, people will go and look at you and make an assessment and go open the door that they feel is right. So just walking over there is like, okay, is this going to be the day that I have to tell somebody, no, I need you to unlock the men's changing room, you know, and gearing yourself up for just having that conversation takes courage, all right? Walking in there and trying on clothes that are cut for a different kind of body, you know, and having to look at yourself in the mirror as you try on, you know, pants over and over again, you know. It's a cause for a lot of anxiety, and to do it anyway and face that fear, that's courage. So let's stop having the courage contest, you know. Everybody's got a struggle. Everybody's got a thing that they have to confront within themselves and from the rest of the world. So let's stop comparing and having a contest, you know, and just acknowledge that my struggle is real, your struggle is real, everybody's got one, and they're all real. And let's stop comparing them, you know, and just maybe help each other out, you know. I didn't mean it to turn into like a service announcement. I just wanted to get these thoughts down. I don't know if I'll publish this video, and I don't know once I do, if it'll stay up, but I felt that it was important to talk about, and I appreciate you listening, and I'll see you next time.